25 minutes before 11 o'clock. I have a couple things in common with our next guest and something that's very not in common with her. Are you ready?
Yes.
It sounds like she's from Long Island.
Uh-huh.
So am I. Where are you? How come I don't hear you? There you are. Okay. It sounds like she loves dogs. I love dogs. Mm-hmm. Sounds like she's really good with managing her money.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 ain't bad. I'm not good with that last part. I love dogs. I'm from Long Island, but I'm not too good with managing money. Leslie Tayne is on the phone. She is a consumer and business debt-related attorney and advisor. She's the founder of Tayne Law Group, PC. She received the Long Island Business News Leadership in Law Award. She was twice honored as one of Long Island Business News' top 50 most influential women in business. Actively involved with the Guide Dog Foundation for the Blind, and she has written a book. It's called Life and Debt. It's a fresh approach to achieving financial wellness. A portion of the proceeds from the sale of the book go to the Guide Dog Foundation for the Lind. Is that right? The Lind or the Blind? It should be. There's a B missing.
Yes.
The Blind.
I'm sorry, I'll fix it.
In Smithtown, New York, which is not too far from Huntington, I think. Mm-hmm. Hey, I put the wrong picture up there.
Uh-oh.
Gosh, we're talking to her, and I put that other guy's picture on there. Leslie Tayne. Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning.
Where are you right now?
I'm in my office on Long Island, New York.
And you got that Long Island accent that I miss. Where are you in? Are you in Smithtown?
No, in Melville.
In Melville. How come I don't know where Melville is? Where's Melville?
Right on the dorsal fin, right on the border of Nassau and Suffolk.
Oh, okay, the dorsal fin.
The dorsal
Yep.
fin. Oh, yeah, that looks like a dorsal.
I grew up in Merrick, just so you know where I'm from.
We are just basically north, a drop east of there.
Okay.
Right off the 135.
Just listening to you makes me want to go get a salt bagel. Do they still sell salt bagels in New York?
Yes, sir, they do. I don't think you want to come here, though, right now, do you?
Yeah, well, why? Because of the snow?
Well, the snow's manageable. It's just cold.
Yeah, but don't you miss it? Oh, you're there.
Yes, she
Did you ever not live there?
No, but I have a home in Florida, so I'm in Florida often.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for being on the air with us today. Yeah, I have I have the Long Island and the love for dogs, but I'm not really good at managing my money. Will the book help me with that?
It certainly will.
How? How does the book help me with that? What does it give me does it take me by the hand and lead me to the bank?
Well, it doesn't lead you to the bank, but what it will do is help you be more focused and more aware of what you need to do to get you to that place, and help you feel a little bit more empowered about dealing with the day-to-day expenses, money, budgeting, and debt.
Sometimes when a person works, you feel the money is always going to be there, and then once you're not having a steady income anymore and you retire, it's not. And like, I am not a good budgeter either, so I have to make some kind of accommodations for it. What do you say to the older person?
Well, budgeting isn't the easiest thing to do. It's also not necessarily something you want to do. So the two together make the budgeting factor difficult. So what we often tell our older clients is that all you need is a piece of paper, a pencil, and a calculator. And you can sit down and take a look and write down exactly what comes in every single month, what day everything comes in, the actual dollar amount, and then start writing down your expenses. And once you put it on paper, it makes it so much easier because you can visualize it, and then you can start from that perspective on budgeting.
So when somebody gets an income tax refund, a lot of people talk about that right now, okay? Mm-hmm. So they get a few $1,000s or whatever it might be. Do you tell them to just pay off as much debt as you can, or do you say put that in the bank and pay off your debts, I guess, with the minimum payment or slightly more than the minimum payment? What do you say?
Well, I'm not a black and white person in terms of take the money and do this with it. You need to really take a look at the totality of the circumstances, because if you have no money in the bank and you're going to use that money to pay down debt and you're going to leave yourself with still no money in the bank, it may not make sense to take all of your tax refund money and pay everything off. It might make sense to pay some of it off and then put some money in the bank as an emergency or backup so you have a cash flow availability. in certain circumstances, when you have a lot of debt, you also want to take a look at the interest rates that you're paying on, whether you're still using those items, and what type of debt they are, because some debt is more important to pay sooner rather than later, and the interest rate sometimes will dictate that. Also, the type of debt will dictate that as well.
Yeah. I was in really bad debt not too well. It's been a while now, so I've been out of it for a while. I'm going to have a little debt right now, but I really fixed a really bad debt situation that I had maybe 20 years ago. It's been a long time. But my psychological approach was, what if I was walking from Florida to California? I wouldn't get there fast, but I would get there. And that's how I looked at it. I'll just do this a little bit at a time, and eventually it'll be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, the one foot in front of the other concept is definitely what we talk to people about. What ends up happening is when you start to get into debt, it becomes something that it takes over your life. And what we try to explain to people is that it took some time to get into debt, and it does take some time to get out of debt.
Yeah.
But if you work off a plan and you work with people who can help you, and you work with the right people, you could definitely get out of it. And in reality, in people's lives, when people come to me in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they say, my whole life I've always paid all my bills, I never had these problems before, I tell them how lucky they are, that in reality many people get into debt, and the debt gets out of control, and it's okay to have some debt, and that's what the book talks about, that having debt is okay, it just has to be manageable.
You have to have debt now because that affects the credit score. I know we pay cash for everything and don't have any debt, and now we're finding it's kind of hard to buy things on time because we don't have a credit score because everything's been paid for by cash.
Well, you have a credit score. There's no doubt you do, and you have some type of debt. So you've either owned or leased or bought a car. You owned or leased or a house or some sort of accommodation to that perspective, if you're older. So you have a credit score. The question is what the score is. And as you age and as time goes on, sometimes that credit score becomes less important. So when I have clients who see me in their 70s and 80s, there's times when I say to them, your credit score doesn't matter anymore. You're set up in a situation where you're going to stay where you are. You're not taking out any more credit. Maybe you own your car, and it's not that important. Paying cash for things and not using a credit card doesn't necessarily mean you don't have credit. It just means that you pay cash for things and you're not using a credit card. And the way of the world today is cash is more important, and having cash in the bank is important, and managing money is more effective and easier when you're using cash, because you could say to yourself, I budgeted $400 this week for food, gas, and other things. At the end of the day, when the $400 is gone, then, or $300, whatever the number is, then that's the end of it. But if you use a credit card, you could easily go over, because you could walk into a store, you forget what you bought on Monday when it's Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. The book is called Life and Debt, and our guest is the author of the book, Leslie Tayne, and she's up in the freezing cold Long Island, which I miss so much. I'm going to visit there soon, by the way. I'm going to take a train. I don't want to drive anymore.
Train to New York?
Yeah. Learn to Love Your Debt is the subtitle. So I want to ask about that. Also, I want to make sure we squeeze in the information about the guide dog thing. Are you blind?
No, I'm not, fortunately.
No. Okay.
I just love them very much, and it's a charity very near and dear to my heart.
Well, we do. Gosh, I know a lady who lives in Huntington, and she's a dog trainer. I wonder if you know her.
What's her name?
Allison Denley. Does the name ring a bell?
No, it doesn't.
All right, we're going to just took a shot in the dark, see if we knew somebody, see if we had somebody in common. Let's see.
Huntington is close to us, so.
Huntington is close, yeah. All right, so let me take a little break, and we'll be right back with Leslie Tayne, and the book again is called Life and Debt. And at the end of the interview, I will give away the copy that was sent to us, but the rest of us will have to go buy it. One of you will win the book, though. Leslie, hang in there. We'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Clouds giving way to some sun today. Highs between 80 and 82. Partly cloudy tonight. Low 59 to 63. Variable clouds tomorrow. High 76 to 80. Rather cloudy on Wednesday with a chance for a couple of showers. High 77 to 80. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Heather Zayer.
Are you a mom looking for inspiration? Are you creative? Mamazine.com is a lifestyle blog designed for the local mom to be inspired by the beauty of motherhood while staying current on local events and issues. Visit Mamazine.com today to find events around town, recipes, imaginative play ideas, and more. Mamazine.com.
Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
Let's face it, nowadays it can be hard to find American-made products, and that's something that Cabinet Sales of North Florida is well aware of. That's why they're an authorized dealer of Wellborn Cabinetry, family-owned and American-made since 1961. Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your answer for complete turnkey kitchen remodels and whole-house cabinetry. Their cabinets are finished with solvent-based enamels for a long-lasting finish that's second to none. Available in an incredible selection of door styles and colors to choose from to turn your dream kitchen into a reality. In-house design and drawing services are available. Come by and see our displays for yourself at the Floors of the Villages, 3935 County Road 216 in Oxford, or Exquisite Design Kitchen and Bath in Bellevue, right across the street from the Bellevue Library. So whether you're looking for bookcases, kitchen, bath, or outdoor kitchen, Cabinet Sales of North Florida is your one-stop source of quality cabinets. For a free estimate, call 352-427-2647. That's 352-427-2647. Cabinet Sales of North Florida.
The tech experience of the future is here at the newly relocated Ocala Verizon Smart Store. Join us on Saturday, February 28th from noon to 2 p.m. and get your hands on the latest smart devices. Right now, get 2 lines with 6 gigabytes of data for $100 monthly access for smartphones, all on the more everything plan with Verizon Ed. So don't miss the grand opening of the newly relocated Ocala Verizon Smart Store next to Chick-fil-A. Subject to customer and edge agreements and credit approval. Coverage details at VerizonWireless.com.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock, Leslie Tayne is on the phone. She has written the book, Life and Debt, A Fresh Approach to Achieving Financial Wellness. And some of the money from the proceeds of the book will go to help out the Guide Dog Foundation for the Blind in Smithtown, New York. And, I went to visit New York. I went back to Long Island when my son was little, and we went out to that very area. I went a little further east. There was a place we stayed in the North Fork of the island, and there was a veterinarian out there, and the dog stayed in the kennel while we went into the city and enjoyed the city, and then we missed our dogs, so we went back. We said, "This, I'm done with the city. Let's go back to the dog." Leslie, I was trying to, during the break, I was trying to make a connection, almost like I was trying to do poetry, like a connection between the guide dog thing and the statement on the book which says, learn to love your debt. And tell me how I did with this. Are you ready? A guide dog will lead you the right way. If you're paying your debt the right way, then you're being led to eventual savings, because once the debt is paid, you can continue that habit that you formed and start paying yourself instead of the car company or something like that, right?
Well, you absolutely want to be paying yourself, so I do talk about the fact that you need to be a creditor. But as far as the Guide Dog Foundation goes, the dogs do change your life radically when you have a handicap. So the management of your money does change your whole life if you can change your mindset. So that's definitely the correlation between the two if you want to make one.
Yeah, and I know we want to talk about money, but do the guide dogs guide people who have like PTSD? We had a lady this morning. In fact, Deborah Potter was her name. She was the daughter. Who's her mom? Her mom is famous.
Joan Fontaine.
Her mom is Joan Fontaine, and she had a guide dog because she was in an accident, and she had a PTSD, and the guide dog helped her with that somehow.
Well, these dogs do a lot of different things. My first dog that I trained is now with the ATF. She's a accelerant sniffer out in Arizona, so they can go in a lot of different directions. If for some reason they either don't qualify for the guide dog program, or they also work with veterans. So the Guide Dog Foundation breeds and has their own dogs. They don't take any outside animals. Mostly they're labs, and sometimes golden retrievers and standard poodles, but mostly labs. And we raise them, my family and I raise them from when they're puppies, and we have them for about a year and a half, and then they go back for more formal training, and that's when the Guide Dog Foundation determines whether they're going to be a guide for somebody, or they'll go off to help a veteran, or they'll help somebody with a different kind of disability, or they could, like my first dog, ended up with the ATF. So it's a wonderful organization. I love them dearly, and I have currently 5 dogs from them. One of them we will find out in about a week if she's pregnant with her second litter, and we just do a lot of work for them because they're just a wonderful organization, and they really do change people's lives. And again, from my own perspective and the way I run my business, we try to change people's lives from the financial perspective, but the Guide Dog Foundation makes such a huge impact in people's lives.
You just brought up something interesting to bring it back to the book about the business part of what you do with the dogs. Mm-hmm. When somebody is in debt and they own a business, are the rules different than somebody who's working for somebody else and getting a paycheck?
No, not necessarily in terms of managing the debt, because when you own a business, almost everything is going to be personally guaranteed, meaning your name is on everything. Even though you have a company and a business, you're responsible for paying that debt. In your personal life, if you're just a W-2 employee or a 1099 employee, then you too are personally guaranteeing the responsibility to pay back certain debts. So the rules are the same in that regard. It's not that if your business went under, you don't have an obligation to pay the debt.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
It's very difficult though for children, the students, because throughout hopefully their first 18 years, they're living with their folks. The folks make sure they're comfortable. These students go off to college. They go off on grants or scholarships or loans, and then
they're lucky.
Right, exactly. But once they get their first job, they're usually inundated with credit cards from credit card companies. They don't need pre-approval or anything. They've got these cards, and they don't really know how to psychologically use them well, and then they end up in debt with the credit cards. How do you help them say, no, they're not going to get this credit card right yet until they learn how to manage money properly?
Well, the truth is that all of that begins earlier than them graduating from college. The reality is that you have to talk to your kids, your grandchildren, about managing money effectively from an early age. Everybody talks about money, about paying for things, and if you can teach children early enough about how to manage it, what a credit card means, and what happens when you're spending on credit cards, you will set them up for better financial habits. So that still takes me to the place where I help people who graduate from college with a ton of debt, mostly student loan debt, and some credit card debt. If they've gone out on their own and they're living beyond their means, they're going to end up with a lot of credit card debt, because there's only one way to pay for things that you can't afford, and that's to put it on credit. So eventually you get jammed in the sense that you get cut off, and there's not enough cash flow, and there's then not enough credit. So you don't want to be in that position. So you need to do your family, your children, your grandchildren a service by saying to them, listen, I don't know if we've ever had this conversation, but let's talk about the ways to manage money and to pay for things. And that comes early on. In any age, you can have an age-appropriate discussion with children. And I have 3 teenage children. One is going to go off to college in a couple of years, and we've been talking about not only money management, but paying for college, and why it's important not to get into debt during those early years, so that she doesn't set herself up for a situation where she's going to be have a very difficult situation when she graduates. And that's because I see it happen every single day. And it's definitely avoidable. It just has to be something that you talk about.
And you're teaching her right. So, but a lot of people have these stories around here, especially. We have a lot of retirees around here, and they've retired, and now they're their older children are coming out for handouts. And
Oh, I have a lot of that. That's very common, and unfortunately what happens is it's more common than not, because those are my clients who are on fixed incomes and fixed budgets, and they set up a retirement situation. They knew what they needed. They did everything right. They weren't in debt, and they have kids in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who have lost their job, and or they've had a reduction in income, or they've gotten themselves jammed. They come to their parents for help, and the parents give them money that they really can't afford to give them, and the parent, the 70-year-old parent, the 80-year-old parents end up in debt because now they're using their credit card to pay for medicine, and they're using it to use for co-pays and things they can no longer afford because they've given a substantial amount of money to their children.
yeah, that is a tough one. What do you do? I mean, how do you say no to somebody you love like that? That's
Sometimes you have to say no, and it's very difficult because I see the guilt and I see the tears, and it's very painful for me to watch my clients at those ages cry that they don't have the money. But I tell them we need to have a family discussion, a sit down, and we need to tell the kids that this is your income, these are your expenses, and if you give them money that you just simply can't, it doesn't mean you don't love them and care for them and want to help them.
Yeah.
It just means that you simply cannot, because who's going to help them? That's what I tell those people. If you get into a problem, and your children have a problem, and you've given them your money, who's going to help you? Because you have a more difficult time going back to work and earning money, and your kids who you've bailed out don't have the money to help you. So then what?
Yeah,
and that's the reality of the circumstances, and you don't want to be in that situation. So sometimes it's a little tough love. I love you, but I simply cannot help you. I'll do anything I'll cook you a meal every week, but I can't give you cash.
The book is called Life and Debt. I have a copy of it, so let me give this away. Now, you might be fine. You're in your world, and your debt might be in control, but maybe you know somebody that could use a little bit of help. This is a really wonderful book in the way that it's honest and straightforward.
Exactly.
It's honest and straightforward. Leslie Tayne has done a great job of writing this book. It sounds like you do this for a lot of people. It sounds like you work with a lot of clients who don't have this understanding of how to handle money. Do you have a lot of them come back to you like a year or two later and say, wow, you helped me out?
I have a lot of people at the end telling me they've made radical changes to their lives and that they feel so much better. The relief that people feel by getting this monkey off their back and by emotionally being able to see things clearer and know what they need to do to get from point A to point B. It's really difficult to live with debt and have no money and just be paying bills every week or every month and having nothing to show for it. It's a very stressful lifestyle. So I do have people who come back and say, you've really changed my life, and you've made such a difference in helping me see things a different way. And the book isn't just about being in debt. The book is also about learning to budget. Let's say you have never done that before, or learning to see money and management of your debts in a different way. It doesn't have to be out of control.
And the earlier you learn those things, the better you are. So maybe you have somebody who could use this book who is just starting college, for example.
Right. It's a great gift.
Leslie, how do we get the book? Do you have a website?
Yes, we do. It's called lifeanddebtbook.com, and that's one way to get it. You can also go on to Amazon.
Okay.
You can get it there, and Barnes & Nobles. You can get it from there as well.
Okay, lifeanddebtbook.com. I'm just putting it in the computer.
Life, L-I-F-E and A-N-D, debt, D-E-B-T, book, B-O-O-K.com. And you can get it from there as well.
You have really laid it out really, really well. You do not talk down to people in your book. You actually have real life scenarios, and you are there to help. You really make people not feel like they're lower than dirt in your book.
No, absolutely not. Having debt doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or you're a bad person. And from my perspective, I've been doing this almost 20 years, and in reality, I pass no judgments. People get into debt for a lot of different reasons, and in the end, sometimes it doesn't really matter. It's about what you're going to do about it to get out of it. So it's not about being harder on somebody and helping somebody beat themselves up. It's about taking control and taking good steps so that you can change your life.
Leslie, I just went to your website and found your picture. You are beautiful.
Thank you very much.
See, look at this, Robin. Look,
Yes,
look,
she
look,
is.
look how pretty she is.
Yeah, she
Sitting
is
in her red dress.
gorgeous.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for being on the air with us. Good luck with everything.
Thank you for having me
Stay
today.
warm. Give my regards to Long Island.
I will, absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Soon.
WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. It's the winter that won't go away. Nearly half of Texas under a weather warning. Some 900 flights canceled at Dallas-Fort Worth International. As for AC roads,
We've got 96 trucks right now patrolling our system, paying particular attention to those major bridges and overpasses.
Susan Slupacki of the Texas Tollway Authority. Much of the Northeast seeing temperatures in the teens or lower. President Obama meets with governors today, focusing remarks last night on economic gains.
I hope that we can seize on that momentum to keep improving the circumstances for every one of our citizens.
Republican governors are expected to make their case on immigration, arguing the standoff could cause a potential partial shutdown of the Homeland Security Department.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Home sales skidded nearly 5% last month, but experts say low mortgage rates and steady job growth could boost spring house hunting. Fox News, we report, you decide.